down here in the basement, getting ready to list some stuff, and I was trying to think of a video. It's Friday, so I figured I'd get a video out. I think as a new seller, my advice is for other new sellers. So what I'd like to talk about today is shipping. So shipping is a weird situation. Some people ship. So I do charge for shipping. I don't do free shipping. I do calculated. Um, I think selling such a variety of things, I think it's easier. Maybe it's not. Maybe eventually I'll figure out something that works better as far as doing a free shipping. But free shipping is a relative term. It's not really free. Usually the seller is just integrating that cost into their list price. So people who are buyers like to see that free shipping. I like calculated shipping for right now. So I guess my point being is if with feedbacks and things like that, something I've noticed that some people you're not getting a negative feedback, but in their positive feedback, they're mentioning shipping costs. And really, at calculated shipping, if you're doing your job right, you shouldn't be a ton over or a ton under. You should be, once you get to know your systems and your box weights and your packaging weight and things like that, you'll start to understand what it costs for you to ship something in a 8 by 10 by 6 box with packing paper, right? Whatever will fit in there, you'll start to understand those things. So when you start to understand what your shipping costs are, it's so much easier on the scale and doing your calculated shipping and your sizes, and you're not overaging, you're not undering, and everybody's usually happy. I find that even in my positives, people mention shipping costs. Now, with me trying to be spot on with my shipping, I still get those mentions about shipping costs. So how I try to combat that is when I'm shipping as a seller, if you're shipping something to somebody, it better be the best pack job that you can possibly do and still have the shipping price in a reasonable thing for somebody to buy. But when they get it, they open it and they say, wow, this is shipped really well. And it kind of changes their perspective prior to writing that feedback on shipping costs. In their head, everybody thinks shipping is too much. I'm shipping it to you what I can ship it to you. But when they open the package, I get more feedback about my positive packing than, and I think that helps when your buyer opens it up and they see that you've cared enough to pack it in a way that to obviously get to them in a condition that you obviously would want the thing to come to you in. I've sold a lot of glassware and things, so packing is super important. So I guess my point of this, this is a quick video. Shirts and things, clothing I put in a poly mailer, and that is what it is. But inside that poly mailer, the piece of clothing is not just in the poly mailer. It is in another plastic bag, because you just never know what the post office or any other carrier is how they're gonna handle it. If it gets dropped, I mean, all these things, and I would sure hate for something to arrive with a stain. So I guess my point of this is, if you're gonna take the time to go source an item, research comps on an item, list the item, photo the item, put it in your inventory in a way where you can remember it, so you're taking that time. You're doing all those steps, and then you just chuck it in a box and it's rattling around and you got minimal tape on there, and or your poly bag is, water gets in your poly bag or whatever, and you stain a shirt on the way or a piece of clothing. I think that you're doing yourself as a seller a disservice by not carrying that quality through your packing. and shipping. Once it's out of your hands at the post office or whatever other carrier, it kind of becomes out of your hands. And those feedbacks and complaints are, you got to take those as they come. But there's absolutely no reason for somebody to get their package from you and open it up and be disappointed in the way it's packed. The other thing about packing, the way it's packed. So when they open it, they should go, wow, this person took care. With that said, if you have polymail, let's do polymailer for example. If you got your item polymailer, you peel the strip so that you can stick the polymailer. If you take that peeled off strip and you stuff it inside your package, if I get a package like that when I order something, I'm instantly disgusted. Not that it's dirty, not that it's anything, but now you're expecting me as the buyer to get rid of your trash. And I think that's pretty unbecoming. Don't throw extra stuff in the bag and ship it and then expect your buyer to open it up and they see these peeled off things, these other pieces and cut cardboard, whatever, stuffed in the bag because you don't want to throw them away in your trash. I've seen it so many times. And I actually just received something the other day as a buyer. I ordered a part and they did an okay job at packing. But what I do when I receive something, if I see something that's like it looks slightly amateur in packing setup, sometimes I'll go in there and I'll see, their feedback or how long they've been on and things like that. This person had thousands of feedback and the shipping was still amateur in my opinion. So they had threw some paper inside, and it was an electronic component for a vehicle. It was a heater switch that I needed for a vehicle. They threw a little bit of paper inside. They had a piece of maybe 3/4 inch foam, like styrofoam, cut the center out of the styrofoam to lay the box with the switch in it in the foam, and then didn't put any paper on top of it or anything and threw that in there. But when they cut the center out of the foam, they just threw those two broken pieces in the box. They weren't covering anything. And then when I got the thing, it was just a piece of foam with a hole in it, and the box that was inserted, the piece that I was getting, was out and loose in the box. I don't know. Part came fine. It works. So I guess where do you take it to? So anyway, that was the point of this video, that as a seller, if you've done all the steps to show somebody, you got the product, you listed the product, you photoed the product, you stored the product, you finally, you get somebody that's interested in your product, you guys make a deal on the product, and then you drop off on your shipping and it's mediocre at best. I think you're doing a disservice to your buyers. That's just my opinion. I get a lot more positive feedback on my packing than I do negative feedback on shipping costs. So I really do feel like high quality packing, not over costing, but just pack it within the means of what it is. I think that really pays off in the end when the person gets their item. So anyway, that's just something I wanted to talk about with shipping. And that's just my take on it. Other people might have other takes on it. I'm still new to this. Like I said, just over a year in the game of reselling. So, but that's my opinion on it. My opinion is you should pack really well within the means of the shipping costs. And if somebody's agreed to pay the shipping, they've agreed on that price because they thought it was an okay price. They should open it up and have the expectations before they open that package. When they open it, they should see and just never have a thought in their mind of, wow, I paid this much for shipping and the packaging is terrible. Anyway, that's my take on it. Quick video for Friday. So, we'll see you next week.